This time on Steven Universe, we go unscripted and talk about the wanted Steven bomb. I'm Victor Frost, and this is Steven Universe. So as you might have been able to tell from the unscripted part of the title and the unconventional format and camera angle and style of this video, this is not a normal episode of Steven Universe. To be quite honest, I had written half the script for this episode. It took me 2 months to even do that, and couldn't get the rest of the script out. I just couldn't do it, wasn't happening, and I was just really physically struggling to get this script written. I wrote about half of it, and I have like this huge amount of script in here, and it's just not gonna work. It's been a long time between when the Wanted arc came out and now. And yeah, granted, I've been, performing at conventions, and I have been uploading videos and doing things live with Victor Plays and stuff, but I honestly feel guilty filming any other project until this is done, and I feel bad because I have my Patreon supporters who are throwing money in, and I have projects I want to start, and I can't. So here we are. What I decided to do is I decided to go completely unscripted. Mostly unscripted. I do have some notes, but it's not like a script like what I load up onto my teleprompter. I have no teleprompter for this, and I decided that I'm just gonna talk about what I felt about the episode and what I thought about it and different things that struck me, and hopefully I can bring it together in some sort of cohesive thing. So, here we go. So first things first, Lars had, without a doubt, the most development in this arc. Now granted, we were introduced to a lot of characters during the course of these 4 episodes, but Lars, his development has been ramping up. It started in the previous batch of episodes where Lars, and Sadie and Steven went with we're gonna go to the cool kids party. It started a little bit before then, and it's been just slowly ramping up, and now we're starting to see what the creators of the show had in mind for Lars. He was never, I guess, destined to be this permanently despicable character. Notice that I am now calling him Lars instead of Laramie, because I really do relish his development in this as a positive character change, and so I don't feel, as stupid as it sounds, I don't feel the need to use his proper name as a means of annoying him, as if he's a real person. So yeah, Lars is really developing in this arc. We can see his development starting off in terms of him recognizing his own personal faults, recognizing, and post-production me, give me some relevant clips over here if you can. Post-production me is going to have a lot of work to do in editing this all together. So we see this originally with Lars having a moment where he kind of comes to grips and recognizes his personal character faults that express themselves in his reactions to the situation of being abducted, and his struggles with social anxiety and facing the other cool kids in terms of his Ume role, how he threw it out rather than taking a chance at social interaction. And I'm really glad that he is developing in this way. So the first step in fixing a problem is recognizing that it exists. And part of that recognition isn't just thinking it in your head. A lot of headway can be made in verbalizing the problem. In this particular case, he verbalizes that he's a bit of a coward, both socially and in terms of critical conditions. He first verbalizes it when Steven and, he are stuck together. Wow. That's a good coincidence there. So he first verbalizes it in Stuck Together, but the next time he verbalizes it is once he and Steven have made their grand escape, and he's talking about how he's always afraid all the time. And literally within that same episode, he sees an opportunity to not be that, to, Leroy Jenkins himself. Dude, please tell me you guys know what I'm talking about. to Leroy Jenkins himself to show an uncharacteristic burst of courage in a very dangerous situation, and ultimately ends up with that, the situation of self-sacrifice because of it, sadly. But that action, that summoning of change within himself, ultimately worked phenomenally. He changed himself, made this big, courageous motion, and he did something. He is now a fundamentally different person, both through that change and because of it. Because he died and brought back to life, and now he's pink, and he's some sort of meta-human now, I think. I don't know. Yeah. So I'm glad that Lars is having this growth. Actually, it's quite a 180 in terms of his character. So I'm really excited to see how he continues to develop over time. Steven, for his part, doesn't really change as much as he does learn, or is an agent for audience learning and understanding throughout the episode. So just to prime you on this, Steven turns himself in to Aquamarine and Topaz because his logic is this: okay, my friends and my family and all the people on Earth and the people specifically that I care about are in danger and they're being blamed. And so the only way to stop this, the only way to take care of this, is to take up the mantle of my mother and take responsibility for her crimes, for her misdeeds, for her shattering Pink Diamond. He goes into this knowing everything, he's thinking he knows everything, thinking we know everything, going into this, and he and we come out with just more questions, with our entire understanding of the situation turned on its head. Because it turns out, hey, they don't actually know how Rose Quartz could have possibly shattered Pink Diamond. And the vehicle for this is an outsider to the situation turning a critical eye to the facts of the matter, and taking asking some very logical questions in it that I personally have never asked about it. Topaz, the defense Topaz, was asking some very important questions, and I thought it was, quite frankly, the courtroom setting was an excellent way of doing that, because the courtroom is where you are supposed to examine the evidence and come to a conclusion. And even though the whole court was a kangaroo court of sorts, if you don't know what a kangaroo court is basically a sham of a trial meant to get to a speedy conviction without really following the rules as they're set out, which I guess in a dictatorship like the Diamonds, could be whatever it is, but it's not a bing. It's not a situation that would fall under what we would normally in America, for example, or in Britain, you Brits, us Americans, would call a fair and just trial. So the fact that a kangaroo court like this ended up turning up a whole new understanding of the series of events, which completely upends the standard thoughts about it, is quite ironic and really cool. Most importantly, though, throughout the course of that trial, it was really a great thing the animators and the creators did by giving us these shots of the people in the courtroom and their reactions to things. Particularly switching over to Yellow Diamond from time to time to see how her reaction differs from Blue Diamond's reaction. Post-production me, clip.
To shatter her own diamond. But even though she may have wanted to shatter Pink Diamond, could she?
Thank you. Throughout the course of the whole trial, in the spirit of a kangaroo court, Yellow Diamond just wanted the trial over and done and gotten rid of. Let's end the situation. Let's go home, have an early lunch. Blue Diamond, however, wanted an explanation, because it's a very decent question. How could a quartz kill a diamond? And there were numerous things that were brought up in the trial that, even though they weren't lingered upon, even though they weren't specifically dealt with, it did bring up some issues, and I'll get to those later. We also got to see the interaction of Topaz and Aquamarine, which let us see a bit more about how Homeworld gems feel about fusions. Topaz's comment about how Topaz wouldn't know what to do if she didn't have Topaz was just a really heartfelt reaction. And I thought it was a great way to show how fusion is like a relationship. From a perspective that isn't colored by Garnet's own particular experience with it, which is what we've been, seeing from here on, from here so far. Jasper had her own commentary on what a fusion would be like, although ultimately we did see that it was a lot like a relationship with her and Lapis, a very troubled relationship. Additionally, learning about the off colors tells us a bit about Homeworld that we haven't until this point had a chance to know. So some of the gems from the kindergartens on Earth came out a little bit wrong, and we know this because Peridot, highlighted, okay, wow, these were kind of a rush job, things happen, they were put in very sloppily, and we get to see through the off-color gems that errors in gem creation can happen for reasons that are unknown, at least to us, in even ideal circumstances, which is presumably what they were created under. If you're a gem made on Homeworld, you kind of have all the advantages. For example, the Rutile twins and Parappa the Rappa. Especially in terms of, hold on, Padparasha, Padparasha. There we go. Especially, and including, so we're in, so we see through the off-color gems that errors can occur in gem creation on Homeworld through the existence of Rutile and Padparasha. We also got to see another example of fusions between what seemed to be a ruby and a pearl, though, who can really tell? And then the 6 gem fusion, which is the most gems in a fusion we've ever seen, even if you include Alexandrite. In universe, continuing the analogy of fusions to relationships, that relationships come in all different sizes and types, and I guess polyamory in this case. So other things of note. So we still don't know what the deal with White Diamond is. We've seen a much bigger presence of her, quite literally, in the form of a giant structure in the background as Steven and Lars were falling in the palanquin down to the depths of Homeworld. Speaking of Homeworld, it's very convenient that the Homeworld for a race of beings who do not need air to live, has air on it. Because otherwise, even if Steven didn't know if he even if Steven could have gone on without breathing, which I don't think is the case, Lars needed oxygen. So it kind of clues us into, well, what's the whole history of gem civilization? And it's just kind of interesting that it has an atmosphere, to me, personally. Rose's sword. So I brought up that there was something brought up in the trial that needed some explaining. Blue Diamond said that Pink Diamond was killed with a sword. Now, maybe Steven didn't pick up on it immediately, or maybe he did, I don't know. But that should have been like the first clue to him that his mom didn't do it. Because the sword that she was using was specifically made by Bismuth to not shatter gems. Completely eradicate their physical form, but leave the gem intact. So, it's a very interesting tidbit that was brought up. Regarding Padparasha... Regarding Padparasha, I had kind of a jokey thought in terms of why her future vision wasn't so futury. My thought is that maybe she just experiences lag. I don't know how that could be. I don't know how that might work, but it's entirely possible she just lives her life a few steps behind everybody else, because she reacts to situations in a delayed way too. Finally, Lars's hair. We know that Lion's hair brings Steven into a bigger on the inside space, and until this point we didn't know if it was sort of like how the inner sanctums of the temple are constructed, how there's all this much room inside of a very limited space, you know, a la holodeck or some sort of spatial compression or something like that, you know, TARDIS, bigger on the inside sort of deal. But with the creation essentially of a wormhole between Lars's hair and Lion's hair, which compresses the space between them variably, mind you, because they both move around, into what seems to be maybe like a 30-foot walk between the two tree island things. It might be the case that there is some sort of, that with Steven walking between them, there's some sort of faster than light data transfer between the two of them, or faster than light travel or something. I don't know. We have no idea how much time passed on Earth while they were away, but you know, we'll find. I'm sure we'll find out more about it. The Steven Universe crew are just a bunch of nerds, just like all of us. So I'm sure we'll find out something about how that whole business works. Now, that being said, that's about it. And thank you for being an audience. All right, that's enough.